Alright, hello everyone. My name is davidtki. Doing Quest for Glory 2 Trial by Fire. And, well, Master of Orion took a lot out of me last night, so I've got a commentator with me. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Mr. P.R. Miller. I have done Quest for Glory speedrunning for a very long time, and it is a pleasure to watch this. Ah, that makes sense. Yeah, we should have seen that happening. Death on the start screen.
One hasn't even started yet. Alright.
That was discovered by the creators of the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, Corey Cole accidentally discovered it on stream once. Anyways,
Great.
So the category for today is going to be Super 100%, which it's not 100%. We're not beating the game. We're beating the game with the highest point total possible. That's not 500. That's not 550. That's every point we can possibly get. So we'll just actually, let me change my name to RGL TV. Hello, RGL, and stick all my starting points into Magic. So you ready to go?
Anytime.
All right, let's go. In 3, 2, 1, start.
David's going to do quite a number of setups here first in order to get himself standing, running. We should probably explain what Super 100% is also. And what Super 100% is like you said, it's collecting every point possible, and this is only possible because of skips that were found just about a year ago today that allow us to do warps that you're going to see out in the desert, which kind of break space and time all at the same time. It's really impressive and from a technical level that this was ever even discovered. But David's going to have to run around, and he's picked, I believe the fighter is his first class.
Yeah, fighter first, because there's going to be a bunch of shenanigans going on with Asaurus and going around in a desert and stuff. I've basically been just... I don't know. The route has been pretty difficult to figure out because, like, I keep changing it. Oops. I did not pull that off. Fumbled my keyboard inputs just a little bit. Well, that's all right. So we're gonna do something kind of silly. What am I doing here?
He is doing something called it's the bellows skip. He's going to burn the bellows, and when they're burned, normally that's a game over because that's a required item, but by hitting the transition, the door transition at just the right time, the transition of the door overtakes the death animation. It actually sets his in-game day to day 9 for reasons we'll probably get to at some point. It's a little complicated for this point, but what it does is skip a number of days. Normally he would rest through it, but he would have to do some other razzle-dazzle in order to get through it, and apparently that just wasn't fast enough. So we had to come up with new strats to go even faster.
Part of it, though, is that it skipped over the certain parts of day where it would increment the elemental counter. So it's day 13 right now, and the fire elemental is wandering around the plaza, but he's not supposed to be there except on days 5 to 6. So the elemental threat counter increases throughout the game, and skipping to day 9 allowed me to pretty much skip some of the days when that threat counter is increased. What's my difficulty at? I need it to be easiest. Yeah. So what else have we got going on here? But yeah, the elemental threat counter is 1 on day 13. I've done that for specific routing purposes. Oh, and I'm going to... He normally sells daggers for 5 dinars a piece, but he's running a special sale today where he's going to sell me 525 daggers for just a couple of dinars. That's going to overflow my weight to negative, and I love that trick.
That is great. Nice thing about overflowing his weight to negative is that the combat system in Quest for Glory 2 is based largely on how much you weigh. By overflowing the weight counter over to the negative, he weighs effectively nothing, and it makes him almost impervious to monster damage.
Yeah, it's going to set their hit chance to the minimum, which is 20. Have I forgotten anything? I don't believe I have, so...
Only you would know. David has created this Frankenstein's monster of a route that I think he'll have the record only because nobody else can understand it.
But yeah, I'm going to map skip past the point when this elemental would destroy the city. The same script would also increase the elemental threat counter to something above 2. but I want it to remain at 1 up until I'm past that point, so that I can then capture the fire elemental, which sets the elemental threat counter to 2. And I need it to be even for the next part, which I'm going to be going into. But for now, I'm going to be doing a fighter exclusive task, which is to defeat every monster in the desert. And we're starting right off with a ghoul here. I forgot to drop my shield, so we're dropping it. I can't cast spells in combat if I've got a shield, so drop it so that I can just flame dart this ghoul a whole lot. I'm going to be using Flame Dart as my primary method of dealing damage because it's a lot more reliable than trying to stab monsters. Then we get out here to the Oasis. Did I remember to grab the Ghoul's Claws? Yes, I did. Okay.
That's good, because I didn't even see you do it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Alright, when you step into the desert, it's going to initialize a counter for how long it takes for a monster to appear, but only once that encounter hits 0 does the monster actually spawn. Aerosaurus is fine. I've got mana pills if I run out.
It's also good. I've seen you really waste a lot of time. What David needs to do on this, waste a lot of time looking for monsters, because the fighter actually, in order to get 100, all of its points, needs to fight and defeat 1 of each monster. So that's why David's going through this right now.
Yeah, it's just a convenient time. Also, the timer for a monster to spawn is halved at night, and it's decreased if you set the difficulty to hardest. So, in ideal circumstances, you could have monsters appearing after like 4 seconds or so. I only need to kill 1 of these guys. We're just gonna run past him. Let's see, I don't believe I fought a scorpion, so I've gotta do that as a... Actually... Let's not do that. Let's do daytime. I'm doing something that I know, having looked at the code. When the timer hits 0 and it determines which monster to spawn, it's looking at a table with 6 values in it. At nighttime, only 1 of those values corresponds to a scorpion, but during the day, 2 of those values correspond to scorpion. So, I have a higher chance of getting a scorpion during the daytime, although the timer is longer during the day.
I did not know that, huh?
I have done a lot of code diving while trying to work on a tool-assisted speedrun of this, which is going to be this specific category, although the route is going to be slightly different because I've taken a couple of safeties and RTA that I don't need for the tasks, like buying the mana pills. Okay, I got a brigand, so I gotta load. There we go.
There it is. Nice thing about combat with the fighter is using this strategy, David is never really in too much danger because he has more than enough equipment in order to save himself, and he can do enough damage and guarantee hits, and his weight is now negative. I mean, for some reason he's sticking to the ground at this point. We're not sure how. Yeah, by going home on the Saurus, he can get off here. And
yeah, we're actually at the city of Razir now, and so we're going to do our first desert warp.
Oh, I love this.
I got to count, so... 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. I need to go 25 screens to the right and 2 screens up.
I will explain what's going on once David's done here, because this is this was the discovery that like changed Quest for Glory 2 speedrunning.
Okay, that got the warp, but I don't think that got the stamina. No, that's no good. I don't think that's good either. I need that monster to be close enough to me when I change screens. That's not it. I keep getting a scorpion. That should do it. he's gonna take a nap now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
It's so cool, David.
Yeah, so he flopped over because the monster health was non-zero, so his stamina initialized to 0, so he just flopped over. But I had to do something specific with the Eternal Order of Fighters, which was that I needed to wait out the timer where they're asking me to, well, telling me to kill him. If I say yes, then I disqualify myself from Paladinhood, but if I say no, then I get the Paladin points, and I don't want to do that just yet. However, I think I have done all of the tasks that are required of a fighter, so I'm going to travel through the desert again, 50 screens to the left of Shapir this time.
As long as you're good counting in your head, am I good to explain what's going on here?
Yeah.
Okay. It was discovered, and I forget exactly who discovered it, but let me tell you, this was absolutely wild. We use a couple tactics in the desert. The desert is actually one giant screen as long as you're in the middle, well, pretty much in the desert. The reason he's one screen off of the mountains in the background is because it makes things go faster. But just above the desert, in areas that are kind of unloaded, is like you're not supposed to be able to go north of here, but David is able to go north of here. By going north of here and then going one more screen beyond it, it actually loads individual scripts, and those scripts correspond to rooms. And we can time and actually aim for where we are going. One of the rooms is the start menu. So David's score is now completely saved, and he's able to pick a new class, which is what makes Super 100% possible. We can also warp directly to the export screen, and it has created a credits warp for this game. The record went from something like, what was it, like 12 minutes, maybe a little bit more, I forget, down to like about a minute. This became the longest run, going down to the shortest run very quickly.
Yeah. So, and then that spawned this Super 100% category, because there are several points that are exclusive to one specific class, and so you can't usually get them. But by allowing ourselves to change class, we're now getting points that should not have been possible. Like, I've got all the fighter points, and now I'm going to be getting some of the thief points, but not all of them, because there are certain thief points that will set the flag where I can't become a paladin, and I don't want to disqualify myself from paladin. It is night 6. This is normally the night when we would have to deal with the fire elemental. I'm going to be map skipping past the fire elemental. I don't want the thief has a very finicky point that they need to get, with 2 of them actually. One of them is the Blackbird quest, which is in Razir and has interesting steps to set up. But the other one is going to be, he needs to get the Powder of Burning, which he can only do if the elemental threat state is 5.
Powder of Burning is used to kill the Earth Elemental pretty much instantly with the Thief. Each class has a intended solution for the Earth Elemental. It's one of the few class-specific intended solutions in the game. And what David's doing here is making sure that his threat level is exactly where it needs to be in order to be able to get that class Thief-specific solution, because I believe it's required for points.
It is.
It's also very fast to kill the Earth Elemental like this.
Unfortunately, I will not be killing the Earth Elemental. So, since we did wrong warp to the title screen, there are certain things that reset and certain things that didn't. One of the things that did reset was my inventory, so I'm no longer able to use whatever items the fighter got, like, say, Rakisha's sword. Let's see, I do have to do this tightrope puzzle. Ow. We'll try that again. The difficulty of this puzzle goes down as your agility goes up, and my skills slider should be set to easy. This challenge also appears on multiple days, and it's easiest on day 16. What have I missed? Nothing so far. Now, my Saurus is still here, but I no longer have a Saurus in my inventory, so if I park the Saurus in the desert somewhere and then leave to go to another screen, then this I will not be able to find my source in the desert, so I got to keep it with me at all points. I've got some very complicated setup that I'm going to do for Razier because the Blackbird quest is in Razier. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Day is dawning on day 27. Now I'm going to rest for 12 hours. And sunset is approaching on day 27. However, I don't have a visa, so I can't get into Razier the normal way. So what are we going to do? Why, we are going to do our favorite friend, the Desert Warp.
Because Desert Warp can literally take you to any room in the game as long as you know the script number. And we know the script numbers because we're able to take a look at this in SCI Companion. It gives us the script numbers, and the corresponding areas north of the mountains do correspond to those script numbers, which, I mean, as long as we aim correctly, which seems semi-random, but it's semi-random's probably... Actually, it's probably not a good number at all. We know exactly where they're at, and some of the runners have actually memorized what the screens look like in this jumble of mountains that all kind of look the same. I just count.
Yeah, I do too, because there's so many different places I warp that I can't memorize them all. I just memorize the numbers. And here we are. We are at the Blue Parrot Inn in Razier, but it's sunset so that we can leave and come back and do this beginning script. Introduce ourselves to Ferrari here, make the thief sign to him. I did that already, right? Sip this. Once I sip this, 3 hours will pass. It is now nighttime. I'll make the sign one more time just to be sure. The Blackbird quest requires me to enter this bedroom from the Blue Parrot Inn on night 27, or else I can't progress it. But it's the beginning of the day now, so what are we going to do? We are going back into the desert.
Now, just out of curiosity, why did the guards allow you to leave so easily if you didn't have a visa?
I don't know. I think that script is broken because I have not actually done the caravan cutscene yet.
Oh, that's a cute trick then. Okay. I was sitting here wondering, I'm like, he doesn't have a visa. How did he get out of the city?
All right, I made it back to Shapir, but it is day 28, and I can't leave the city because that's going to immediately trigger the caravan cutscene. So what am I going to do? Why, remember these bellows? I'm going to destroy him. Only my magic skill is not very good. So,
even though he's on day... You're on day 28 now, if I remember right? And even though he's there...
Now I'm on day 9.
Yep, by doing that setup, it actually sets your day to day 9, because normally that would trigger a death script where the air elemental destroys the city.
Wait,
and that begins on day 9.
This is not what I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to leave the city. This route is so hard to remember sometimes. Okay, the elemental threat counter is still 3, which means on night 10, I have to do a map skip, and I can't go to the Palace Plaza because the air elemental is there.
And you wouldn't be able to map out. It'd be slower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I do that, and then I can sleep until day 14, where at this point the elemental threat counter advances to 5. Now I can visit here. I don't remember asking him about fire and earth. Okay, it looks like I did. But I'm going to buy oil, and then I'm going to get the powder of burning, which he will only give to a thief with elemental threat state at 5. Now that I have that, I can sleep until night. Elemental threat state is still 5, so I'm going to have to map past it. But now that I have the oil, I can come in here, and no, this does not disqualify me from Paladin Hood. So I can go ahead and come in here, pick this box, get the points within, map past the point when the elemental would destroy the city, and then I can go out here into the desert because I have to go do the Blackbird quest now.
Which means time to desert warp.
Time to desert warp, and we're going to be napping in the desert again.
Day 28, correct?
Yes. Around sunset on day 28. 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Good afternoon, day 28. And I'm 1 hour before sunset, so that's good enough. Again, I can't get into Razir, but I can... Even if I wrong warp into Razir, I can't get into Kavin's room. But I
so he's going to warp probably directly into Kavin's room.
Yeah.
Nice. Counting in the desert is one of the more difficult things. David's running this on DOSbox, which runs faster in the desert, but overall... the speedrunning community of Quest for Glory has kind of been doing this shift. Some of us are still doing DOSbox. Some of us are moving to ScumVM and playing that more. Depending on which game you're playing, ScumVM runs either faster or slower. This is one of the few games where ScumVM runs much, much slower. But so David runs this on DOSbox because it's just, I mean, the desert parts are just so much faster. And we're talking the difference of about, on an any percent, DOSbox runs at about a minute, and a minute's worth of time, and ScumVM is like somewhere between like 3 to 4 minutes worth of time. But by warping into Kavin's room, he's going to get some of the thief-only points here, and he'll end on the wizard class. Which I think is my favorite class in this game.
There's a lot for every class in this game.
This is the best fleshed out, I would say. Of all.
I was one screen too far. That's
one screen too far.
That's quite all right.
I'll need you to kick that stream back up so I can see it again too.
Oh yes, of course. That one, and let me check.
Got it.
Okay.
If you go to a
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops. Messed that up.
Whoa. The reason David's able to do this is because of a technique that we call turning is not walking. By setting up a turn at the same time as he casts a spell while moving with the keyboard, he is able to walk over transition areas like screen transition areas and it not actually process the transition.
There we go. Got it this time.
By also, if you use the desert warp and go to a script room that doesn't exist, it crashed the game, which is what you saw. We should have mentioned that also. Which is why counting is so darn important, because you can't just, I mean, you could warp to a wrong room, but more likely than not, you're going to crash.
Because it's going to try to load a script that doesn't exist. Oh, I'm going to do something cute. Drop the bird, and then pick it back up again right here, so that I don't trigger the week on the way back.
It's really optimized to do that. That's great.
Yeah, and actually... I appear to have come here just a little bit too soon, so I probably should have slept 1 more hour. Sunset approaches, there we go. Alright, but now that we're coming in here, we'll be able to start the Blackbird quest, since it's sunset. But I need it to remain sunset so that I can, after giving him the bird, get back out again, because if it's nighttime, it won't let me leave, and then I get forced into endgame. So that's why I wanted time to be at sunset, but now that I've done that, we're going back into the desert.
That is an unbelievably, well, I mean, I guess it's a tight window, but it's probably more forgiving than it looks. The passage of time in Razir is one of the reasons why we were so excited whenever a warp was actually found, because that used to be something like, what was it, like 6 to 7 minutes of unavoidable downtime where you pretty much did nothing except wait for the game to continue. I think it was 5 minutes, I guess. No, it's maybe 5 to 6 minutes.
There we go.
All right, time to do our other warp.
Yep, we're gonna destroy the bellows again.
First try.
Mm-hmm.
Our wizard's getting better. I'm sorry, thief.
Yeah.
So now David is running along to the desert. Is there any more thief-specific points you plan on getting right now, or is this time for the transition to the next class?
Transition.
Okay, we're heading over to the last class in the game, the wizard, in order to get the final points, and then round out whatever is necessary left for the plot points. Which there is a lot. Notice he's at 550. I think you're ending at 668 points.
That's the plan.
And there will still be desert warping. Can't forget
of course there will
warping.
be.
Yeah, what kind of game would this be if there wasn't desert warping?
Okay, that was one too far again.
Yep.
Give me just a bit while I get that back up. It's difficult to count sometimes.
I'm back.
All right. I was one screen too far to the left, so...
You want to turn to a diagonal and face the other way because it makes turning not walking trick much easier, which is, by the way, a trick that we have found a lot of utility for across the entire series. Quest for Glory 4 seems to have some application to it. Even the remake of Quest for Glory 2, which is free on AGDI Interactive, or AGD Interactive's website. So if you want to play a full-fledged VGA remake of this, you're able to completely for free. But these games go for like $5 regularly, or sometimes even less on GOG.
But yeah,
David's starting. Oh, go ahead, David.
Just buying some stuff, getting the levitate and force bolt spells, and also some dirt, because I'm going to be actually dealing with most of the elementals on this class, since I've only captured the fire elemental. I bought a map.
You can walk, and isn't that another application of the turning is not walking trick?
Yes.
Where you begin to do the purchase while you're turning, and then normally you're paused, but the walking animation overtakes it, so therefore you're able to get the item without having to watch the entire animation of the seller there as he sorts through and looks for his stuff. It's a great trick.
So I saw a question in chat, is this running with the MT32? I do have Munt set up, and I did configure DOSbox to use it, so yes. Now,
MT32 is the way to go for this.
Alright, so I gave money to the beggar twice, and that's because I'm doing something on the wizard that I am not doing on any of the other classes, which is to collect the paladin points, because paladin points are one of the few things that are actually reset when you change classes. And so I've left them all to the wizard.
Which is good. Every class has the opportunity to do certain honorable things that make it possible to get an additional 50 points that are hidden in the game. And we consider 100% to be 550 for purposes of speedruns.
Well,
so David is going to get 50.
User.
That's true. I think Thief gets a bonus and then gets bumped up anyway, or is it 500 total? I forget.
Thief is capped at 500, but we require Thief to not become a paladin.
That's correct. Yeah. Because there's certain exclusivity. Some paladin points cancel out Thief points, so we wanted to keep the Thief as steely as possible.
Yeah, pretty much.
Criminally.
Yes, exactly. Okay, well, anyways, the paladin points are reset on new character, but a new wizard or thief actually has their initial paladin points set to 12 immediately. Whereas a fighter has theirs set to 0, and that's because there are two actions that are supposed to be only doable by a fighter. Let me think. What am I doing here? I believe I'm going to day 13. I have the
Yeah,
bellows already.
If you're on normal routing, it should be. Yeah.
But I did not get a cloth bag, so I am going to have to go ahead and do that right now. So let's get a cloth bag, and actually let's get 2 of them, because capturing the air elemental set the elemental state to 4. The earth elemental will appear on this day regardless if the elemental counter is low enough. I did not see it on the way to the astrologer, but that's alright. I will explore the city and see if I see it on the way to Aziza.
Yeah, she did. The elemental will always appear at the end of hallways, which makes it nice because you can just go back and forth in a hallway until you find it.
Alright, but fun little trick here. I'm going to get the mud, and that's going to set the elemental state encounter to 5, but it's supposed to be 6 after the earth elemental. So, drop the mud, pick it up again. Now it's 6.
Ah! You can increment the threat counter. You could get past the water elemental with that then, couldn't you?
I could. What is... That's way too low to be doing anything there. Okay, I think I go out into the desert and speak to Julinar now.
Nice thing is David has set his map, magic map, to be able to warp back to that door at any time. There's a wizard, wizard in there that he needs to talk to, where he gets a bunch of points for being very polite.
Yeah.
And I believe it's communication.
He can't actually tell Julinar about the earth elemental unless the state is 6.
That is one of the 2 rooms you're able to nap in the game, other than the inn. Julinar and the Oasis.
I'm also going to get a griffin feather here real quick. And then,
by the way, some of these things that David's doing, like floating up to get the griffin feather, navigating the hallways, all of this is very precise, and unless you play it, you don't realize just how difficult and precise some of these movements are. It is really impressive to watch, because in speedrunning, missing these doorways and hallways and not getting through them in time is just a time killer. You're looking for wit now, right?
I am going to wit. By the way, funny thing, I'm going to cast open. My name is T-O. So what am I going to do? They're going to ask me my name, and so I'm going to F3, and because T-O is part of cast open, they're going to accept it.
That is a good optimization.
I mean, you could use any 3-letter combination of cast open and there. I just did T-O because... Uh-oh. I hope that didn't drain mana. I lost my train of thought for just a moment.
And if it did, hopefully it didn't drain it enough to ruin you.
I hope so. I'll do a safety save, and if it did ruin me, I will cheat. Or maybe sleep until dawn on... It's important to me that I not do this on the same night that I do Aziza skip. I have a very important reason for that.
Throughout the time you've been watching David use the text parser also, and you may have noticed him typing "it" in there. The text parser will remember the last noun that you used. So what we use is a technique called noun stacking, where we would hit yes, or we would buy a bunch of items in a row, but rather than retype in buy, just add the last noun that we want. So it takes the first verb and the last noun, stacks them together regardless of what's in between, and just makes it work somehow. And David will also use the word "it" very liberally in here, because it uses that as the stand-in for the last noun, because it saves and stores that info.
Okay, Now, I'm going to do a specific skip called Aziza skip. So, Aziza is somebody that you need to visit at some point, and she has a specific cutscene for day 16, but she also has something that you need to ask her about on any other day. So, normally that requires 2 visits, but I'm going to pass time until just before it rolls over to midnight the next day. I got 14 points entering here, so I know I entered on day 16, but pausing like this is advancing time, and as long as it's day 17 when she talks here, then I don't do the day 16 cutscene. I instead get to talk to her normally.
Oh, that is a cool skip. I did not remember that one.
2 visits in 1. But now that it's day 17, I go here, and it immediately triggers the caravan cutscene. And you have to wait until now to do the caravan cutscene because you get a visa as part of this cutscene, and you can only do the cutscene once. So that's why all those other times I was sleeping to day 27 and taking a Saurus to Vizier. You need that visa. Your inventory is reset when you change classes. You need to give the visa to someone.
This was the difficult part of the run, trying to figure out a way to get past the waiting in this section. Mm-hmm. But David's got to definitely have some fun with this. We used to use a transition technique, and by we, I mean David and a few of the other guys like Santa and a few others who would have optimized running back and forth through a door in order to slightly increment the timer just a little bit faster. That was the old tool-assisted run, too.
Yeah.
Now David is going to be skipping ahead quite a bit here. But in order to do that, he's on the far side of the desert and needs to run a little bit here. Not as bad. David's got these runs and where he's supposed to go optimized.
Yeah, I'm waiting for another encounter here because I went to the Eternal Order of Fighters as a fighter, because a fighter gets points for going there, but there's also some Paladin points there that I didn't get the last time I was there, which I'm going to go ahead and get now by doing this again, only this time I say no to finishing him off. You got to say no to get those Paladin points, and I wanted those now in order to make sure that I got them, but only as the wizard.
And you wouldn't see his point counter increment from that because those Paladin points are hidden until the very last part of the game. So now David's going to make up the Dispel Potion here. Something that's necessary. Actually, yeah, the Fruit and the Feather he's going to use to make a Dispel Potion, and he's got to go handle a beast out in the desert.
I'm trying to think. So I have noticed that the game seems to run pretty slow when you're riding a Taurus through the desert. So I'm going to go ahead and deal with the beast now. Just kind of pluck its fur. And then... and then I'm going to go back and ride the Saurus. Did I go too far? No, I didn't go far enough. Alright, again, I don't have a Saurus in my inventory. Wait, do I? No, because Aziza took my Saurus. Okay, right, whatever. The strat here is we're gonna nap until night 29.
Each time David naps here, it advances the day by half. So you know, twice will obviously increment it a full day. Normally you're in Vizier at night 29, but for, because that's one of the only places in the game that you could nap, we've actually you can actually use it to go further ahead. We didn't find a use for it for the longest time, but because of the desert skips, there is now a very, very practical use for it, because once you would go back to do the caravan transition, the caravan cutscene, regardless of what day it was, whether it was day 29, it would warp you back to day 27 regardless. Now, day 30 is the last day I believe you can do anything, because the game will end on that day, if I remember correctly. Because that is whenever the world ends and the evil wizard Atavis, who we need to stop, needs to be stopped by. He finishes his test, or he finishes his magic spell to take over the world. David has to run pretty far across the desert here in order to get to the right thing. He's probably counting in his head right now. This, just to give you an idea of the time difference, David has this at super 100% at about, I think it was like something like 35 minutes as his max, or one of his best scores. I was the runner who did the Speed Demos Archive 100% runs on this back in the day, and I think those runs were in like the 40-minute range just for one class. He's able to do all three in less time than it took me to do one. Just to give you an idea of how far this game has progressed.
I recognize that plant. I know that I have gone just far enough to get to Zaisha's room, which
nice.
Which gets us into the city of Razir. So I gotta give her my spare change of clothes and my visa. But when I leave her room, it sets time to mid-afternoon. So that's neat. But on day 29, when you leave the Blue Parrot Inn, you're gonna immediately get arrested and thrown into endgame.
That is beautiful, that skip. That is art. That level of control over the game. Because everything is so pinned down on the timer.
Got to do a little spell glide through the jail cell there. Just skip a little bit of dialogue.
Yep.
Most of the rest of this is going to resemble a typical endgame wizard run. Look at that, I'm at 500 of 500 already. I've hit 100%, right? Oh wait, no, 505. We're getting higher. By the way, this screen forgets to lock mouse movement, so I can just click off screen here and suddenly end up on this screen over here where I will cast open on those rocks. And then, but as it turns out, there is a lava room where the lava is floor.
Using another turning is not walking. He skips over a damage tile that instead lets him just run over. Once you're past that damage geometry there, it just it might as well just be floor. So you just walk over it, and you walk over to the left side of the screen, and the entire left side of the screen is set up as a screen transition.
Alright, well, we're gonna go ahead and get trapped here. How much health do I have? Not enough to survive a jump, but that's not gonna matter too much. I'll just not jump. I'll take the safe way down.
You did ask about Wish, right?
Yes, I asked about Wish. Yeah, it's so fast. It's easy points to forget.
Yep. It's also one of the easiest things in the entire game to it's one of the easiest points to miss. That was so clean.
Okay, now the fastest way down is to just jump off this ledge, but that's going to deal me 20 damage and health, and I don't have the health to spare, because when I come in here, this statue is going to knock me down for another 20. But that's alright, I'm just going to fight it, escape, and then cast the Force Bolt spell here, and that's time.
Now, if David did everything right, he should get an additional, I think it's 25 points for winning the game, and then an additional 50 points as a paladin. Is that correct? Do I have that total right?
Almost. The paladin points are actually going to be 7 higher, because I got 7 paladin points that should not be possible for a wizard to get.
Nice. That's right, because the wizard went through the EOF.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did not have the foresight to actually play the version of this game where I patched this ending to be shorter.
So we get to watch the conversations that are unskippable.
Yeah.
There's a few here. It's actually just the beginning part here.
Yeah, the requirement to become Paladin is you must get enough Paladin points, your honor must be 75, and you must not have you must not have set the flag that says you can't be a Paladin.
I can't stress to you enough just how complicated this run is, and I'm like, David makes this look like just memorization. It's an extreme level of memorization because David runs, I believe, every category of this game with just holding all the information in his head. I'm not sure how he does it.
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I forget one minor little thing. But like, it was a challenge at SGDQ having to keep 3 routes in mind because last bid were 100%, not super 100%, but regular.
And the discovery of the desert glitch just completely changed the entire game. In fact, it was about a year ago now where the community discovered this skip, a skip for Quest for Glory 4, and it was off to the races. I mean, last year, 2024 was the year of the skip. We found, the community found so many skips to the point where it completely rerouted even the collection run where you run through all 5 games. We switched from doing EGA 1 to VGA 2 and then going through the rest of the series because we allow runners to select which version of the game they're going to run, as long as they go through all 5 games, to VGA 1 to EGA 2, which is a complete reversal of where it was just to be faster. It is wild how fast, how much time has come off in just the last year of a game that was already heavily optimized.
Getting one character through all 5 games last year was like 52 minutes. Now it's 31.
Yeah. Oh, the game is completely broken. Lemming is one of our runners. He's absolutely right on that. Santa Claus and You're gonna be seeing his score here anytime.
Yeah, I did become a Paladin, so that's good. And if I got everything, it should be 668 points. There we go.
Beautiful. Absolutely wonderful, David.
668 of 550. That's been Quest for Glory 2. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for joining me, Mr. Miller.
It's been an absolute privilege to watch this, David. Great job.
And with that, take it away.